Virginia, I just did a pre-recorded introduction to the series that you are the inaugural interviewee for. I'm going to read a brief portion of your bio, and then we're going to delve right into this interview. Virginia Clairmont is the founder, president, and CEO of Clean Sweep Frederiksted, which is in the U.S. Virgin Islands. In 2014, she founded the organization to address Fredericksted's economic development and revitalization challenges. Virginia oversees the development and implementation of various community-based programs, the strategic direction of the organization, and the general operations of Clean Sweep Frederiksted. Aside from that, she is a friend who has become a sister. We have known each other a long, long time. And the reason that I have asked Virginia to be a part of this month's programming is because for years now, when I think about her, I think I see her and have come to know her as one of the most resilient people I have ever known. Virginia has many, many obstacles that she could talk about in life that she has had to overcome, and she does it. Now, I've invited her to talk to you because this month, our theme is resiliency. What does it take when you get punched, when you get knocked down? Figuratively speaking, hopefully. When that happens, what does it take to get back up and keep it going? And it's not always easy. Usually it's never easy, but it can be done. So Virginia, welcome.
Thank you, Ria. It's an honor to be chosen as your first guest. So
absolutely,
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. I've got a turtleneck on and Virginia has her arms out.
You know, we have this running joke about the weather, so I won't show off and tell you how lovely it is today.
Yes. So what happens is when she's dealing with what feels like what feels like or what actually is 100-degree temperatures over there in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I'm dealing with wonderful summer temperatures here in the U.S. on the mainland in the Midwest, I get all, I gloat, I brag, because I know that winter is coming. And when I'm cold and bundled up, and she's looking like this.
I get to say it's a lovely 82 degrees here in the Caribbean.
And she absolutely rubs it in. She rubs it in. Okay, so Virginia, as I already told our audience, this month's topic is resiliency, the power of being resilient. And I want to start our conversation with you sharing a little bit about your definition of the word resilient or resiliency. We know what the dictionary says, but what does that word mean to Virginia?
So I had to actually give that question a lot of thought because resiliency isn't a word that was a regular part of my vocabulary until 2017 when the Virgin Islands was struck by 2 Category 5 hurricane. It was a hurricane. So I personally went through Hurricane Maria here with winds that were up to 200 miles per hour. It's very traumatic. But even then, I didn't consider myself resilient because I had just been through so much before. I kind of feel like being strong was just a thing that I did, But I've soon come to understand because of another situation that resiliency is actually the ability to endure, some challenges and trauma and grow from it, become an even better person than you were before, because you can survive an incident, but it's, coming through it and being better. Just being a better person is what I would call, like growing emotionally, mentally, psychologically is what I would call resiliency.
Gotcha. So making it through and growing from it, not just getting through, but growing from.
Right. Growing from it. Yes. So you become more sympathetic and empathetic, hopefully kinder, more gracious. I'm actually going through the process of learning to become more gracious because of the grace that was shown to me and given to me during, some recent traumatic events. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What is awesome is the power to show up in a better way. So and I'm not saying that you weren't gracious or graceful before, but to understand the need to become more so because of what was given to you. That's a lesson that not everybody gets, right? People will receive, they want grace, but might not always be willing to give grace. So that's a powerful lesson. Over the years that I've known you, I've come to know you as an exceptionally resilient person, which is what I already said in my introduction. Have you always been resilient, Virginia, or have you grown into it? And I know that you're saying you did not view yourself as resilient until maybe fairly recently. But as you look back over your life, is that something that you have always been, even though you had not labeled it? Or is it something that you've kind of grown into over time?
Yeah, I actually feel like I was born this way, with what I would have defined as a young person, determination. I've just always been very determined to do and achieve, even in an environment where the expectations were very, very low of me. So, that saying, you know, or tell me I can't do something, but hold my beer. I think I've always had that. Oh, you're gonna tell me I can't do something? Well, watch this. And I remember myself being this way, in the first grade, like, just very determined that I can do something, I can achieve something. So then I would couch it as, yeah, determination. Um, Now I realize, because of the household that I grew up in, it was not just determination, it was actually like surviving that space, which was a toxic and violent home environment, that, I did need resiliency to make it through.
Got you. So it was nothing that you consciously thought about. It just was who you were and is
Right.
who you have been.
Right.
Okay, wonderful. I want you to share with us one experience. And if you want to share more later, then that's fine. But for the moment, one experience that required you to be resilient, and tell us how you were able to show up in a way, or in that way, in a resilient way, in the midst of that circumstance.
So I was hemming and hawing if to talk about this experience, but I think it's the experience that I think made me aware that I was a resilient person. It's still a little difficult to talk about, but I will, because I think it will have it defines who I am, I think, in this moment more than anything else. So a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I was viciously and violently assaulted by my siblings, who left me severely injured. I ended up losing the vision in my left eye and had, some severe concussions and whatnot. And really in the moment, understanding, well, my siblings hate me, but just in dealing with the trauma, I think I stayed focused on, I need to get through this because there are things I have to do. But not only am I going to get through this, You're not going to make me bitter. You're not going to make me a hateful person. You're not going to make me angry. And you're not going to make me forever sad. Right. And so, what do I have to do now to emerge from this with my peace of mind, with my joy, with, excuse the tears,
That's all right.
with love, because you can start to hate people, right? And project a lot of your hurt onto people. And I did not want to do that. So I had to figure out how I was going to hold on to the essence of me. And then, as I mentioned earlier, become an even better person from that situation. And while I was making the conscious decision that I was never going to interact with these family members ever again, I also wasn't going to hate them, if that makes sense. So
let's stay right there. Let's stay right there, Virginia, because when you talk about being resilient, and of course, I remember, because we were in close interaction at the time that you were going through that. Do you know that your camera's closed now?
Yeah, I had to wipe my
okay.
My teeth. I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha. I'll keep talking. With having something so violent happen to you by people who are so closely connected to you, yet your response is, I decided that I would no longer interact with them, but I also would not hate them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you maneuver through that? Let's talk about that, because that is something I can hear people who've been through worse and some who've been through less, but the less that they went through was still very painful for them. And their words are, I will never forgive. I will never, right? So why is that important to you? And how does that come to play with regard to resiliency?
Oh, so I haven't forgiven them, Bria, actually, because I don't feel like that's my place to forgive them. But what I have done is forgiven myself, right? For the situation that I was in, for knowing better, right? And not removing myself more quickly, because I knew I should have, but I remained out of, family obligations, so to speak. But, carrying around hate for anyone or anything is a huge burden on yourself. And I didn't want that. So maybe it's a selfish response. And you can't serve your community or do the work that I do when you are, you're carrying around this, it would be a boulder, pushing this boulder, of discontent. It just can't work. You can't do good work, and I feel a meaningful work in an authentic way if you have toxic energy that exists within yourself. Or your space. It just doesn't work. And I think I was just very conscious of that.
Okay. So I want to, I know that we're doing this because of the benefit that I know it will be to those who watch, but I want to do this the way you and I have conversations, okay?
Okay.
Which is a little bit more than just kind of a rigid professional, let me ask you a question. Okay, let's go back to the whole unforgiveness thing. And so for those of you who don't know, if you're just tuning in, this is a dear friend. We've been friends for a very, very, very long time. And we do not always agree, but we always agree to disagree when we have things that we don't see eye to eye on, right?
Respectfully.
Respectfully, absolutely, right. Absolutely. And we don't shy away from anything that even if
Right.
it's something that we know we don't agree on. If she wants to ask me something, she asks me. If I want to ask her something, I ask her. And we have those very, very deep and thought-provoking conversations. And sometimes it's like, oh, okay, well, okay, I hadn't thought about that. So I'm going to tell this, I'm going to do this side note. One time, Virginia used to identify, I would say, we were talking,
I was just having the same thought, Ria. I was just having the same thought. I thought about that story, but go ahead.
Go tell it, Virginia, tell it from your perspective, because you were the one who gave me the revelation. Tell it.
Right. So Ria was asking me if I identify as African American, and I'm like, no, I'm Black. And she was just like, what do you mean? You're Black. That's African American. And I'm like, no, African Americans are Black people born in the United States of America, and they have a specific culture. Right. Even though I am an American, because I was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, my culture and my experience is a Caribbean experience, and it's not the same as Black Americans. So therefore, I'm not African American. I identify as either Black or Afro Caribbean. So, and we went at it because because Ria was like, "You're African American," and I'm but it comes down to culture and your experience. If you are Black and you grow up in France, you won't call yourself African American, even though you're living in America. If you're a Black French person, you would just kind of go with I'm French or I'm Black. So that's the thing for me.
Absolutely. And I was adamant. Now, for me, I use the two. Some people might have preferences. I use them interchangeably, but she was adamant. No, I am this, not that. I'm like, Virginia, yes, you are that. Why would you say that you're not? And when she explained it to me, I was like, oh.
Right. The cultural experience is totally different.
Because what you have to understand is, although I intellectually knew that my friend was from the US Virgin Islands, all of my interactions with her had been on the mainland. And even the little bit of Caribbean flair that I hear coming from her voice now was not present when I knew her.
Right. Since I've been back here, it's becoming more and more pronounced.
Absolutely.
Right. But it wasn't when we lived in on the East Coast together. So yes.
Absolutely.
I'm totally Americanized.
Very much. So those were the eyes through which I viewed her. And I ascribed all of this stuff to her. She was like, absolutely not. So that was just one example. Like I said, but when I say we had an in-depth conversation about it, and it wasn't until I'm asking her, why would you say that? Why do you feel this way? And she explained it to me, and it totally made sense. So we have never had to have that conversation again because
I wish I could, like, the way you said it, because I can still hear it right to this day, right? If you've ever had a disagreement with Ria gets pretty feisty and her voice goes up a bit.
It's called passion.
Yeah, there was a lot of passion.
A lot of passion.
You're trying to tell me that I was African American. Yes.
Like, you can be Black, but you are you also need to acknowledge that. And she's like, no, Ria, no. So she won. She gave me the revelation that I needed, right? And we've been good. We've never had to revisit that subject again. So going back to this topic today, resiliency, there was an assumption on my part when I heard you say that you chose not to hate. And that assumption was that along with the decision not to hate was the decision to forgive. But you were clear, you have not forgiven. So I want you, in my mind, it is a difficult road to navigate, not to hate, while also not forgiving. The two kind of go together in my mind. So break that down for me.
So the people that assaulted me made a conscious decision to do that. You know, they didn't have to. I tried, when I say that, I tried to leave the space. They prevented me from leaving this space, and the manner in which they, like I said, assaulted me was just extremely violent. Um, I think when I say I haven't forgiven them, it's because they need to seek forgiveness for their actions in that. It is not my responsibility to do that for them, or to give that to them. I'm not going to do that. What I did do was decide, I'm going to forgive myself for understanding that I put myself in the space of danger. And I had a lot of guilt about that. You should have left. I knew how they were. I knew my sisters didn't like me. I just didn't understood that they hated me. And it was just, and for them too, it was just years of unresolved, whatever feelings they had that was projected onto me. And I get all of that, right? But but I honestly feel, when I was thinking about, because a lot of people were saying to me, you need to forgive them. And I'm just like, why is everyone telling me I need to forgive them? And no one is, I felt like, is anyone saying to them, you need to seek your sister's forgiveness? Is anyone looking at me and understanding my loss and my pain and my sorrow? Because when I lost my vision, I felt incomplete. I was not a complete person. This happened to me when I was 49 years old. I was on the verge of 50. And I just, it was like, it was the same as losing a limb, but folks could not just connect the hurt and the trauma that I was experiencing. For them, it was over. But for me, it's forever. So I think the best way I found to navigate that is, I'm not going to hold a space of hate, but it's not my responsibility to give you the forgiveness. I don't know what would the term be for it. Like spiritual forgiveness, I guess. It's not my place to do that for someone else. That's between you and your God. Let you work that out with your God. I've worked that out with him, with my guilt and my whatever else I was feeling, shame and everything else, and found the forgiveness for myself. And because I found forgiveness for myself, it then removed that hatred, which comes up, all the time. And then I have to go back and, find grace for myself, right? Find love for myself and go through all that process, on a regular basis, especially when there are days that, I get triggered, have to center myself back and then go through that whole thing again, finding forgiveness, and then not hating these finding forgiveness for myself and not hating these women for what they did.
Got you. So as I'm listening to you talk, what comes to mind is what I have come to understand forgiveness to be, which is it's similar, but a little bit different than what you articulated. And that is that forgiveness is for you, not for them.
Right.
And by that, I mean, if I forgive the one who caused offense to me, then I am released. It becomes a tool through which I am released from the bondage that would bind me to that person were I not to forgive. What I'm thinking about is people who have endured, let's say someone who was beaten as a child, molested as a child, whatever, right? And it was perpetual, and the offender is still kind of in their sphere. And they cannot move on. So maybe the difference in terms of your approach, Virginia, is that you've made a conscious decision not to hate. I still see the two connected, but I hear, because I'm saying what you're doing for now
Mhm.
is working for you, right?
Yeah, it is. I will
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
say, Ria, every day I look in the mirror, I'm reminded
Mhm.
there's always a bond, so that's never going away because the the remnants of my assault is there every
Mhm.
day,
Which is
right?
different though than bondage.
Right.
So the connection where when you look in the mirror and you see the eye
Hmm.
that was once just fine, that now you can't see out of,
Right.
that definitely there's a connection that in some way, shape, or form that reminds you, but
Right.
that does not have to be your place of bondage.
Right. So hold that what you just said for a minute, right? So every day you look um at your image or this thing that is now in my head disfigured, and you have to think of the people that did it to you. And the immediate response was hate, right? I didn't want to go through that every day. I just didn't, right? And sadness for myself. Why didn't you? And you should have. And I was, and so it's just like, Virginia, forgive yourself for this, right? Forgive yourself for this, right? And, and work on not the anger that you feel for what happened to you, which is the hate that was coming out. Work on that. So that's the thing I've been working on, being able to look at myself um every day and not experiencing hate in the morning and in the evening, so if
Again,
that makes more sense.
well, all of it makes sense to me because
Mhm.
I've been on this journey with you
Right,
and I
right.
know how resilient you are. Like again, the ability to rebound from that and
Mhm.
not hate. Now, again, I'm an advocate of forgiveness, but
Right.
I'm saying to just not hate is a pretty big deal after you have dealt with something like that.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Because it's traumatic and it does not go away. Any trauma that you experience doesn't go away. You learn to cope, But my big focus was like, no, I'm not going to just learn to cope. I am coming out of this with my peace of mind. I am reclaiming my joy. I am reclaiming, I am an optimistic person. By default, I am reclaiming my optimism. I had to work on all of those things, and I just could not do it while I was really hating them for what they did to me, and I'm like, um, I have got to come out of this space. I'm not religious, but I definitely I'm more spiritual. So, I pray and you know, Rhea and I have a disagreement about what I'm about to say. I
Here we
seek
go. Here
guidance.
we go.
I, I seek guidance from the universe or as God, or
Is that
God,
my
as Rhea
cue? Is
would
that my cue
say.
to come in? Is
Yeah,
that my cue to come in?
yeah.
Virginia says, oh, thank the universe. I say, thank the God of the universe, the creator of the universe. She's like, okay, thank you, God. Thank the universe. But this is just, again,
This
when
is
I
just our
say,
thing, right, right.
exactly.
So
Something that
yeah,
we're different on, but yeah.
so I look for, you have to, I look for spiritual fulfillment, and you have to feed that, right? And so those are the things I decided I was gonna focus on. I took myself back into therapy. I did all of the things that I needed to do to get to a place of real joy, you know
Now,
but I realized though that what it wasn't necessarily looking for joy, it was the peace, and then everything else fell into place, the joy, the happiness, and everything else, right? Just seeing, just having optimism. Okay, this didn't work, but you know what, there's a lesson in that, so what can I learn, and sort of move on instead of getting stuck in a place. I was stuck for a year and a half, and there was no movement in my life. And then I was what's that word when you're, cycling or spiraling. I was spiraling my
Downward.
mental health downward.
Mhm.
And it took a friend actually who came to visit me and was just like, what is happening here? Right. And removed me from that space and got me, a little centered so that when I returned back to the, I went to the East Coast for like 3 months and came back and then came back and made that decision, right? That I'm not going to be stuck in this place and I am going to find myself, but not just find myself, but become a better version of myself
Mhm.
from this experience.
Okay, now this is the note-taking portion, Virginia, because
Mhm.
the reason that I am doing these interviews, which you are launching today, is not only to inspire people around the topics that we will discuss each month, but it is also to equip people.
Mhm.
So we understand the concept of you making this decision to show up better for yourself. The question is, how? What were the practical, everyday, maybe even mundane steps that you took to transition from a place of being stuck for a year and a half into this resilient woman who sits before me today? What was that journey? What are practical things that you can give people who are watching who say, I have no idea how to get out of where I am?
Right. So I will just tell you, I had been out of therapy. I'm a believer in therapy. And I've been in therapy for a big portion of my adult life. I took myself back to therapy, and I committed to that because therapy for me is not just about addressing you know any issues you may have. It's about maintaining a good mental health, right? So you could live a full life. But I also, Ria, my gratitude increased for everything, right? My gratitude increased because I live in a beautiful town where I happen to be born. My gratitude increased because I have some amazing friends who lifted me up when I couldn't do it for myself. Uh, my gratitude increased because it's like my community rallied for me. And I just realized, like, I don't have much, but I have everything, right? Like, you have everything and you are still here. But even more than that, right? I am living a purpose driven life. I still was living my purpose. And there's a little backstory about that. I was living on the mainland, and I hadn't been to the Virgin Islands in several years, and came home on vacation, and really I got a calling. It was time for me to come back. It was time for me to make a difference in my hometown, and I decided that's what I'm going to do. Ria knows a story. I packed up my stuff like within a matter of a couple of months and moved back to pursue my purpose. And that was 7 years ago. And I have been, not many people get to do that, um, and not have a full time job and just sort of say, I'm going to start and do something. And then you get to make a difference. And then you not only are you making a difference, but you see the difference that you are making, right? And then I'm doing it in the place where I was born and raised, and I feel lucky all the time. I wake up every day feeling really lucky. Now I say all that it's not easy. It's really really hard. I've had some incredibly painful moments. Doing community work is very difficult. And a good example of that would be if you follow the life of Christ, right? It comes with challenges, but I'm getting to do it. Um, and so, yeah, it's just, it's always this gratitude in me, looking for the real little things. Oh, the clouds are big and puffy today. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. I had a friend, real simple thing. A friend just sent me um, a standing fan. Just said, I sent you something. It's arriving today. Like how awesome it is to have friends who will think of you and just do those things for you, because they think about you and know that you have needs. And so I'm being shown all of this grace, and I am hyper aware that I am being given a lot. And so, and because I know I've been giving so much, now that I've made a conscious decision to be in the moment and pay attention to these things, because I wasn't doing that before. I was not at the scale that I'm doing now. I think it has allowed me to grow and, and become this resilient person. Before, I would describe myself as strong, but I don't always like being strong, because even strong people, need, help every once in a while. So I shifted from being strong. I'll tell you something too, Ria. I've also allowed myself to be vulnerable. That's not an easy thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
because it means you're opening up yourself to so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But allowing myself in this process also to be vulnerable and speaking to my vulnerability and the pain and the hurt and everything else I was experiencing. I don't want to use the word closure, because that's not what necessarily happened, but I definitely, it was an elixir for my trauma.
I am thinking about what you've just said. One thing is therapy or coaching. So if you're like, well, I don't know that I need therapy, but I definitely need some help to get unstuck, life coaching might be an option for you as well.
Wiping my tears, Ria, just wiping my tears. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem, Virginia, no problem. But Virginia sought help to help her move beyond where she was into where she wanted to be, and to process her way through the therapy that she received, through the emotions that she was feeling, the negativity and the stuck place that she found herself in. She made a decision to look for things intentionally for which to be grateful. As she said, the clouds are so big and beautiful. I'm in this place that is gorgeous, that people dream about, where people come to vacation. And I live here every day. And on in terms of the things that she was able to identify, the friends in her life, the community, all of the good things. So instead of taking her attention and drawing a circle around the physical representation of that traumatic pain point and zeroing in on that every day, she decided to look beyond this into all of this, and it became a healing process for her. So I want to encourage you, if you find yourself in a place of pain. I'm thinking now, last night I watched Nowhere to Run, which was about Ahmaud Arbery. It was a kind of really a news program that looked at what happened from the time, well, really from before we all even heard about it, through the trial that and the verdict. And I remember his mother and the pain, the strength that I saw in her, but the pain that I could hear when she watched the video of him being shot, and she just she couldn't take, and she just broke in the courtroom because she hadn't watched the whole video prior to that. And I'm thinking about women. There is an organization that I have had the opportunity to listen to some representatives of, who are mothers of sons who have been shot. And I've seen these women go into correctional facilities, not just shot, but killed, murdered. And I've seen these women go into correctional facilities and speak not only forgiveness for the men who are in the room, but speak about what their journey entailed. And for them, it was forgiveness, and how they had to let go of some pain in order to heal, right? If you find yourself in that place, I encourage you, write down some of the nuggets that Virginia is sharing with us today about her process. That was you're hearing, so you're seeing tears today, but you're not hearing the intensity of the pain that I heard when she was in the throes of all of that. Just the sense of devastation, the sense of realization that somebody so closely connected to you could do this kind of harm to you. And the only way she was able to get to this place is not just by deciding I'm going to be better and do better, but she actually had to do the work. And it wasn't easy, right? So she got therapy. She put herself back in therapy. She intentionally, consciously looked for things for which to be grateful. She made a decision not to hate. That she just told us she had to revisit. And I would say, are there still times, Virginia, when you find yourself having to revisit that decision? You talked about triggers.
Yes, because you know, if anyone who's experienced trauma can know something can happen, you know, someone could say something to you that automatically brings you into the moment, you know, where you were hurt. And so all of those feelings come back, you know, and it's not just fear or you know, sadness or whatever. Anger comes with it too. So you have, you know, you have to constantly work on, you know, deciding I want to be better than that moment, you know. Um, and keep, you know, while you were speaking, Ria, one word just kept coming to mind for me. I don't know if I use this often. Hope, right? Like there has to be some sense of hope or joy, you know, that phrase, because I'm not a spiritual person. I do not know the quote, but joy comes in the morning.
Yes.
And I'm a definite believer in that. And I also took little steps to improve, you know, my situation, little things. You know, I moved to an apartment that had big windows, and lots of sunlight, and you know, those sort of things. And so, you know, it's just constantly putting in the effort, uh, you know, to be bigger than the situation that happened to you. It's not an easy process, because the easy thing to do is to shut down and to hold in all of that, but it comes out in unhealthy ways. And I was aware of that because I had, you know, I've been in therapy for a long time, and I just did not want to find myself, I didn't want to be an emotionally unhealthy and emotionally and spiritually unhealthy person. I did not want to be that.
Mm-hmm. And so in that, I hear the recognition of what could have been if you had not done the work to be better. You weren't
Right.
just, you reached a point where you were like, I have to get up and do something because I don't want to become this person that I see the potential of becoming if
Yes.
I don't do the work.
Right. And I will add to, you don't have to do it alone, because I didn't, you know. I I cried out for help, right? That's making yourself vulnerable. I should have expanded on that. I cried out for help. I cried out when I didn't know if up was down and down was up, you know. And I would say, I don't know, I'm not doing well. And my friends would allow me to cry, allow me to feel anger. You know, I struggled with feeling anger for a long time because, like I said, I grew up in a household, a violent household, verbally and physically. And I did not, for a long time, I would hold my anger in because I didn't want to be that person, not recognizing that that was harmful. So then I allowed all of that to come tumbling out, you know, and just saying, I am angry about this, but also recognizing, yes, you don't have to stay in that moment forever. You don't have to be angry forever. But just even saying it made me feel better.
Awesome. While you were going through that, living through that experience, I think I know the answer, but I want to ask it anyway. Did you realize in that moment that you needed, while you were going through that, even if you weren't able to, did you realize that you needed to be resilient, or was that something that came later?
Well, remember I had said that, resiliency after the hurricane, resiliency was a word that was used um,
A lot.
a lot in this community because just describe how we survived it, because we did. It was a horrific event, and we did survive it. And I think because I had that, and understanding what resiliency is, you're helping each other. When you go through as a community something, as a hurricane, a tornado, or whatever, you have to rely on each other for some basic things. We were without electricity for 3 months or 4 months. Some people didn't have running water for longer than that, and so there's a lot of sharing, and you can't be selfish, even with people who tend to be, right. There is no space for that anymore, because we're trying to rebuild and move forward. And so I kind of think, like, maybe in a subconscious kind of way, like observing that behavior, because yeah, I can be strong. You can be strong, right? But you can't just be strong when your community is completely devastated, right? You do have to become a better person, because there is a whole group dynamic thing happening there. And I think I may have understood that once I was processing that word resiliency for myself, because you've seen me go through, as you know, Ria, some very traumatic things, and then I would pull myself up and just keep it moving. But I was not always addressing, the trauma that I was dealing with. Now I'm addressing the trauma directly, and the hurt and all those feelings that I was dealing with.
Awesome. As we prepare to bring things to a close, with this last question, you might want to draw upon some of the information that you've already shared, or you can introduce new ideas, that's fine. But I want you to share 3 key tools that you believe are necessary for a person to be resilient. And this is a 2-part question. So part 1, what are 3 key tools that are necessary for someone to be resilient? And the second part of the question is, how do they go about obtaining those skills if they don't naturally possess them?
Oh, wow. So, um, key tools. You have to have a network. You have to have, even if you just one friend, you need a tribe, right? Who you can reach out to, uh, and you can build one. If it's your therapist, your pastor, um, you know, your spiritual guru, whatever it is, that's available to you. You really need a tribe. You cannot do it alone. You just can't. And most of all, you really need someone to talk to, even if you call a crisis hotline, because I am feeling this way, and I can't get out. I'm stuck. You need that. That's the second thing is, um, feel what you feel. Stay in the moment and feel what you feel. It is okay if one of the things, I would not allow anyone to make me feel is like, oh, well, you need to get over that already, or you need to think positively or whatever. No, this is where I am today. Today I'm angry, and I'm going to feel angry. Or today, I just don't want to get out of bed. And if possible, I am not, right? Or if it's like, you know what, today I am feeling pretty joyous, I'm going to the beach. Be in the moment, right? And then just and process those feelings because it's necessary. Don't keep it bottled up. Self-care. And that has been said to me a whole lot. And I am terrible at self-care. I am terrible at it. I have been taking very, very small steps. I to love myself, because that's what self-care is, right? Loving on yourself. It's little things like, Rhea, buy myself my favorite perfume. I can't get it here, but my workabout is if I know someone is coming to visit here, I'm like, can you go pick up this for me because they won't ship it here, right? And putting it on gives me a lot of joy. Painting my toenails. Now, for some people, that's a given. For me, I do a lot of community work, so I am out in the field, and it's not, you come home dog tired, you take a shower, you go to bed. So taking the time to add some beauty to my toes and my feet brings me joy. I like doing that. And anything else that brings you joy, take the time to do it. And when I say bring you joy, it has to be about you, not you giving to somebody else, but you giving to yourself. Because we need that love, and taking that practice and starting to incorporate that practice has been very helpful. So I'm sorry, I'm just sort of, I just want to say, as Black women, we don't do that enough, right? I think we're almost brainwashed into thinking we have to do for everybody else, and never even recognize, that we need to be, our cup needs to be filled as well. Even if you do it for yourself, it is not selfish at all. Because sometimes we're told that too. It's not a selfish thing, care for yourself and love for yourself. Oh, I can't hear you, Rhea.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry, I had muted. I said it's not a selfish thing. It is a necessary thing, as you said. I'm going to summarize this interview, and then I'm going to ask you if there's anything additional that you want to share before we sign out, okay?
Okay.
All right. Virginia has shared a very, very personal and painful experience that she had to show up in a resilient way for herself in order to overcome it. And some of the steps that she took included getting therapy, and as I already said, intentionally finding things for which to be grateful. Never underestimate the power of gratitude, intentional gratitude. And then there was one other thing I had put a little line to write down, but it'll come back to me. The 3 tools that she identified are creating your own tribe, whether that be a therapist, a life coach, a family member, a friend, whoever these people are, a pastor. Create a tribe, people who you can lean on to be strong for you when you are not able to be strong for yourself in that moment. People who will speak life to you and who will build you up and not tear you down when you need to be built up. Number 2, the second tool is to feel what you feel. She said, process your way through your emotions. Feel it, but don't just stay there, especially if it's a negative place. Allow yourself to feel that emotion, but also be determined to process your way through the emotion so that you can get to a better place. And the final one was self-care, taking the time to find something that you enjoy doing, that replenishes your spirit, that puts a smile on your face. Today is January 1st, Saturday, January 1st. There might still be Christmas lights up outside in your neighborhood. And joy, that might be something that's joyous for you. Just riding through neighborhoods, looking at the beautiful Christmas lights that people have used to decorate their homes. Do it. Do it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been a great time with you, Virginia. We always have a great time when we talk. One thing I need to say to you, ma'am.
What is that, Miss Ria?
Same thing I've been the same thing one of the many things that I have said to you for years, but I all while we were talking, I kept seeing it. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to put you on blast. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have an idea of what I'm going to say?
No, but go ahead.
Virginia.
Wait, I do. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Say, what am I going to say?
No, go ahead.
You need to
go to church.
No.
Is that,
write a book.
Oh God, no, Ria. Yes, that's the other. Oh, no. I absolutely thought you were going to say go to church.
Tell you that I haven't told you that in years.
You've given up on that one?
Oh, I haven't given up on anything. No, because you can have a relationship with God and not the universe, and don't go to church, right?
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah. What is the one constant thing
just
that
not
I've
in my
always
spirit.
told you?
It's not in my spirit right now.
I know you always say that. I'm leaving you alone. I'm just putting it out there. I just wanted to put you on blast publicly. That was all.
Okay, thank you. But nah. You know what? I want to say one little thing too, because this was all spiritual, but I do have a petty, right? Because I'm human. And my pettiness is this, honey, I don't have to take care of you because God, the universe, is the best at equalizing all things. I don't have to do anything.
So let me
live my best life.
There you go. There you go. Let me throw a scripture your way that speaks to that. I have like the Christian version, the secular version, and then the spiritual version, like the spiritualist version.
Okay.
The Bible says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that also shall he reap.
Mm-hmm.
The secular version is what goes around comes around. The spiritualist version is karma is a beep.
Beautifully summarized, my friend. Beautifully summarized. And that's pretty much it. I'm like, oh, I got nothing to worry about. I'm covered. I'm good. Because whatever it is, let me just do my best me.
Right. The focus, one of the strongest takeaways from today's conversation is that you had to get your focus on you, not on the situation. Because there are, as you said, I'm aware of many other circumstances and situations through which you have lived and had to be resilient. And your focus each time had to be put back in its proper place, which was on you. What do I need to do to get from where I am to where I need to be? What is the work that I need to do? How do I need to show up in my life for myself so that I can live my best life? So, Virginia, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I love you.
I love you too. Do this.
Always. I don't often do that.
I know. It's cute. I love you too. I do. I'm so grateful for our friendship and sisterhood that has lasted through the years. And we really are an example, right? That you do not have to agree with everything.
You sure don't. And can disagree and it be funny and respectful. It does not have to, because we don't do that in anger. I don't think we've ever disagreed in anger, and we've disagreed on some very fundamental things. Absolutely. Right? One in particular I am thinking about, but we won't mention.
Don't you dare. That was probably like the first time when you shut me all the way down.
Right.
If you're talking about what I think you're talking about.
But yeah, the same thing. No,
okay. Gotcha. Yes, I do remember that.
I shut you down on that one, and it was.
You did, but even the way that you did it, Virginia, it was just like you just stated facts. Like, this is where I know what you believe, Ria, but this is where I am, and A, B, C, D, F, G, right? And I was just like, oh,
Okay.
And this was like, we never had to talk about that again, right?
Again, right.
Yes. And that was the beauty of it. Like, again, just accepting people for who they are, loving them where they are. And I have been blessed with a wonderful friendship that has turned into a sisterhood over the years. And I thank you for doing this interview, Virginia. I look forward to whenever you decide it's time to write that book. I look forward to it. In the interim, I obviously will have many more adventures with you in life.
You can be my ghostwriter.
I will. I told you. Yes.
You can be my ghostwriter, but I also want to say I'm so excited on this new journey, because we've been talking about this for a long, long time. It's not emerging quite in the order that we have discussed in the past, because YouTube didn't exist, and social media didn't exist when, Potential's place was an idea. And now here we are.
Here we are.
Very exciting. Congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And so, you're a wonderful resource, because when I need information or help with trying to figure something out, or just need a sounding board, I am one who will call my friends, like, listen, I need for you to listen to this. I need your input.
Your tribe.
My tribe. That's right, Virginia. That is right. My tribe. Well, tribe member, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing with us about the power of resiliency in your life and the tools that you have shared with our viewing audience. At some point, perhaps we will have you back to talk about something else or to talk more about resiliency. But for now, I am so grateful and thankful to you. Love you. Have an awesome rest of the day.
Thank you, Ria.